Okay, moving right along, let's bring up Shane Choyo over here. The man, the myth, the legend, and now my partner for economic freedom.
All right, hello there.
Move that microphone over just a little bit. There you go. That's it.
All right, hello there today. I'm actually, for once, I'm here to talk to you about some good news. The OffNow Campaign, which I've talked about before, that I'm affiliated with, to basically take away the material support compliance that the NSA needs at the state level through legislation, has finally come to Michigan. And so for once, there's going to be there's a piece of legislation that's coming through Lansing that's actually going to be good for liberty rather than destroying it. So I'm going to get you that information about all that. And first, though, I'm going to go through exactly what the OffNow Campaign is, for those of you who don't know. Next slide. So what is OffNow? We're a grassroots, decentralized political coalition founded last year to nullify the NSA. And so right now our coalition consists of about 20 groups from all over the political spectrum. We've got Occupy groups, we've got anti-war groups, we've got groups from the right, groups from the left, libertarian groups, and so it's a real diverse coalition from across the political spectrum of all coming together and to say no to the NSA and to the political establishment's habitual violations of the Constitution. And we have our model legislation, the Fourth Amendment Protection Act, and we lobby state legislators across the country to introduce our bill. And I'll describe what the Fourth Amendment Protection Act does later, but to go more into what we at OffNow do, it's, we reach out to individuals in states, in state legislatures, and we urge them to introduce our legislation, and we actually take action against the NSA rather than just sitting around and waiting for the feds to get their act together. As Dennis said, that's not going to happen. So we need the state legislators to get proactive and with willing to take on the NSA and other unconstitutional federal bureaucracies. And many of them have been actually surprisingly receptive on this and other key issues. You'd be surprised at how many legislators there are who really understand the problem in Washington, D.C. and understand that resistance needs to be taken at the state level to combat them. They just don't really know how they can fight back because they've been kept in the dark about nullification. They've been kept in the dark about what rights they actually have to push back against the feds. But as our work becomes more successful and more prominent, that's changing. And we also get the word out about our bills through our Tracking and Action Center. We have one of these at OffNow, and we have a larger one at the 10th Amendment Center that really, at the side of our website, that tracks bills for important state sovereignty issues across the country. And whether it's Common Core or marijuana legalization or Obamacare, we have a page up there that gives you all the action steps you need in your state and all the information about the bills so you can be most effective as an activist and take a real stand against federal tyranny rather than just talking about it. Next slide. And we've had success. Over 15 states right now have introduced Fourth Amendment Protection Acts. Legislators have been, as I've said, surprisingly receptive to the idea of taking on the NSA through the states. So, we didn't really expect to make this much of an impact all at once, but it really goes to show that what the NSA is doing is so overboard, so ridiculous, so obviously unconstitutional that it's really causing people to be alarmed. And people are frightened, and rightfully so. And now they know for sure that their privacy rights have been destroyed by this Orwellian bureaucracy that shows no signs of stopping. And they're ready to resist. Slowly but surely, they're becoming ready to resist. And but even more surprisingly, we've received favorable mainstream news coverage from sources such as CBS This Morning and NPR. So usually these are the people who say that people who support states' rights and nullification are extremists, racists, Confederate wannabes. That's usually what we hear from CBS This Morning and NPR. But on this issue, it's different. It's totally different. And I actually have a clip. Can you get that queued up? And I got a clip from last month. It was on CBS This Morning. They did a quick little 2-minute feature on us. That features the executive director of the 10th Amendment Center, Michael Bolden, in a very tremendously favorable profile of our movement. And here it is.
And with the Obama administration wrestling over reforming the NSA surveillance program, state lawmakers across the country are taking measures into their own hands. This is an incredible story, and as John Blackstone reports, one proposal in Utah would dry up a lot more than support for the NSA.
Sprawled across 1.5 million square feet of land south of Salt Lake City, this massive data storage warehouse is the National Security Agency's largest such facility in the country. If one Utah state lawmaker gets his way, it will also be the driest.
The federal government can spy and collect all this data if it wants, but as a state, we don't have to support it.
The new NSA data center in Utah requires 1.7 million gallons of water every single day.
Mark Roberts is drafting a bill that would cut off state water to the facility, which needs it to cool its huge banks of computer servers. The legislation would also prohibit state universities from working with the NSA as long as it continues to collect phone records and data on millions of Americans.
The policy in the state would be that we won't provide any material support or assistance in any way to the data center.
Utah is just one of 15 states considering bills to deny local resources to NSA facilities. Michael Bolden's nonpartisan think tank wrote the model legislation most of these proposals are based on.
The legislation basically says, hey, the state is not going to participate in helping the federal government spy on people in the United States or around the world without a warrant.
Last month, President Obama laid out a path to reform for the NSA data collection program.
The reforms I'm proposing today should give the American people greater confidence that their rights are being protected.
Yet state lawmakers are still trying to impact the agency at their level. The bills are all in the very early stages, and their chances of passage are uncertain. But their authors' messages are coming across loud and clear.
Turn it off.
For CBS This Morning, John Blackstone, San Francisco.
So, yeah. Pretty good coverage there. Usually, every time we've been covered in the past, it's a hit piece. They misrepresent our views, and they try to make us look kooky the same way they tried to make Ron Paul look kooky. But this time, this time though, it's different. This time, they're actually giving us fair coverage, and it's really because of Edward Snowden and the heroic sacrifice he made. His leaks have been a game changer throughout the world. Journalists in the mainstream now readily admit of the dangerousness of the federal government's unconstitutional agenda. It's no longer taboo to discuss this kind of stuff. And it's also legitimized concerns that we've had for generations. And people are finally seeing the need to resist. So libertarians, conspiracy theorists, and other anti-establishment voices have been talking about this stuff, this government surveillance stuff, for many generations. And now we've finally been vindicated. The truth's been spilled, and we were right, and the partisan political hacks were wrong. And they're going to try to sweep this under the rug as much as they can, but we can't let them do that. We need to keep rubbing this in their faces. We need to keep hitting the same chord over and over and over again, because more than anything, this NSA issue exposes the criminal and deceitful nature of the government in a way that can't be refuted. So this is, I think, our number one issue to run on and to show people, to show the world, what the feds are all about. And OffNow gives people the right ideas to properly resist tyranny. The federal government won't get their house in order, so we must force their hand. Obviously, that was what Dennis was talking about, and the reason why our plan works is because it can be enacted completely outside of Washington, D.C. And we don't require Washington, D.C.'s consent or approval. No sensible NSA reform is ever going to be rubber-stamped in the Washington, D.C. cesspool. No way. But by denying the NSA the compliance and material support that they need at the state level, they won't be able to conduct their illegal surveillance operation in its current form. Our plan stops the commandeering of state resources for use in the NSA's illegal spying program. And it's been the idea, the anti-commandeering doctrine is what we use to deny them the resources. And this has gone before the Supreme Court on 4 separate occasions, and they've affirmed it all 4 times, and regardless of who was on the court. So our plan capitalizes on these court rulings and on the words of the Founding Fathers, who were very clear in saying that the states are duty-bound to resist. So we take these ideas and these court rulings, and we use them to take on the NSA while completely circumventing Obama and his cronies in Washington, the Republicans that appease him. So that's what I think is really important about what we're doing. Next slide. Okay. All right. So this is the bill, House Bill 5420. It was introduced on March 20 by Representative McMillan, and in my opinion, it's the most important bill for civil liberties in the entire legislature. Yeah, no doubt about it, and that's a very stately picture of Tom McMillan in front of the Capitol. But yeah, I give him a lot of credit, and he's one of the leaders in doing anti-commandeering and nullification stuff in the state legislature. Now, what exactly does HB 5420 do? Although there is no NSA data hub in Michigan, this bill hurts their operation in other ways. So there is no huge location with giant supercomputers conducting surveillance operations like in Utah or Maryland, where they need to suck up millions of gallons of water per day. There's nothing like that in Michigan yet, so we can't cut them off from the water because they're not taking the water from us. However, the NSA does exert its influence in Michigan in other sneakier ways, and HB 5420 addresses those. It prevents all information gathered illegally by the NSA from being used in criminal investigations within the state. The NSA loves to get state and local government officials in on its illegal spying program. They're happy to provide them with as much information as possible that they gather without a warrant, so that the local and state government officials, the law enforcement, they can use it to throw even more people behind bars and fill up the prisons even faster. So they want to get that information down to the local levels and have them use it unconstitutionally to throw more people behind bars. And this stops that type of information sharing. And also, it also prevents information gathered by state and local government officials from being funneled to the NSA. So, yeah, this is something that's known in Washington as the information sharing environment. And under this information sharing environment, the NSA receives information from local government, corporations, and other federal bureaucracies, and basically just hoards it. And they also throw them some information as well. Basically, it's very fascistic. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back type deal. And, it's very incestuous and very incredibly unconstitutional.
I love that term, incestuous.
Yeah, it works. It works for this, and it does this, does it under the supposed jurisdiction of keeping us safe from terrorism. Supposedly, the more information that the NSA can get their hands on, the more safe from terror will be. That's never been proven, or even close to proven, but it's one of the lies that the NSA continuously uses to justify its constant oath-breaking and treasonous behavior. And HB 5420 would stop any of that information sharing. Any information gathered by state and local officials would not go to the NSA, and they also wouldn't comply with fusion centers either. And fusion centers, as they were responsible for the MIAC report that said, basically everyone in this room was a terrorist. So it also hurts the fusion centers as well. Indeed. And corporations who collaborate with the NSA could be sanctioned through the law, and this would any corporation that's receiving money from the NSA to aid them in their destruction of the Constitution, could be denied state contracts under this law. And it also ends the NSA's university infiltration program. This is a program called Centers for Academic Excellence. In this program, they basically target a university, bribe them with grant money and other goodies, and then they train students and faculty alike at that university to do work for them, and they do crucial research tasks that allow the NSA to more easily spy on us illegally. And then later on, they tap into the same students that they've trained and then bring them on to help them conduct their illegal spying operation. So, this is very frightening that, they basically turn the university into their own breeding ground. And, instead of all these bright young kids, they might have, the cure for cancer or the cure for one of our, many vast amount of socioeconomic problems. Well, they're not going to be doing any of that because they're getting swooped up by the NSA. Mm-hmm. And HB 5420 would put an end to that as well. So it does a lot of good things, even though there's no big centralized data hub sucking up the water in Michigan. Our bill still does a lot of other good things that basically cut at a lot of the power that the NSA is trying to get through local and state governments. Next slide. So what can we accomplish here? What's realistic? The bill was actually introduced in a bipartisan fashion with 6 Republicans and 5 Democrats co-sponsoring. And that means we have a legitimate shot at passing this. It isn't how it used to be, when Ron Paul was the only voice in the wilderness against this kind of stuff. There's widespread awareness and a growing willingness to resist the NSA through, state and local action, and other evil federal agencies for that matter too. And the general public's waking up, and then by extension, their lawmakers will have to follow suit, or they'll get the boot pretty much. So that's really doing a lot of good for us. Also, the real victory, the real importance behind what we're doing is pushing the legislation and the idea behind the legislation forward, because it exposes politicians who are in bed with Big Brother from both sides of the aisle. Let me give you a recent example of this. We recently had Republican lawmakers in Tennessee side with the NSA and kill our legislation. So that's terrible news, obviously, but at the same time, it allows organizations like Campaign for Liberty to educate their constituents about, these so-called conservatives, and how they stab their constituents in the back and ushered in Obama's tyranny and want Obama to spy on you all the time, and so on and so forth. So, we're really forcing the bums to show their true colors by pushing these ideas forward. And just going through the process can make all the difference. Our mere presence, forces these scumbags to expose what they're really up to, and that makes them more vulnerable to be primary challenged, to be be voted out, or whatever else stuff that C4L is might be up to. But so we're there to make them more vulnerable and try to get more people in who will stand up for state sovereignty and won't just be a lapdog for federal money like Governor Snyder is. So it's all part of the process, and pushing these ideas can force the hand of all the establishment stooges and make them show that they're for federal power and they're not for states' rights or freedom or any of that. And most importantly, as we've talked about, we teach people how to properly resist federal tyranny, and this is our most important goal. We want people to become leaders for freedom themselves, and not just grovel before some federal thug. If you go and grovel before the feds, they're just going to laugh at you and they're going to know you're weak. But if we stand and we organize and we take progressive measures against, or proactive measures against them, not progressive measures, proactive measures against them that wake people up, strengthen our communities, and unify the public against the federal menace, that's how we win, not by groveling. Next slide. And here's the reason why I'm so excited and so hopeful about OffNow and so happy to be a part of this group, and why it's, again, also so necessary for us to keep striking that chord and keep hitting them with this NSA thing and never letting it die. And here's a quote from Glenn Greenwald. He said that the archives of all the leaks that have been released by Snowden are so complex, so deep, so shocking, that I think the most shocking and significant stories are the ones that we've yet to publish and are still working on. So, and that quote was from October, but Snowden reaffirmed it a few weeks ago when he said that the most explosive leaks still have yet to be revealed. So as this information filters through and as we get it, we have to take this explosive information and bring it to people and bring them over to the liberty movement off of it and educate them with the right ideas on how to resist. Because we can't let what, Greenwald's putting his life on the line, Snowden's putting his life on the line. He gave up his freedom. We can't let the sacrifices these brave men have made go in vain. We have to step up to the plate, and we have to take this information, we have to build political action off of it. And yeah, people need to understand that reform will not come from the Congress or the courts, and any reform that comes from the feds will be a smokescreen. Do not be fooled by any type of measure in the Congress that says, oh, they're going to take on the NSA, unless maybe it comes from Justin Amash, but most of the reforms are just complete nonsense. For example, Mike Rogers, last month, he introduced the End Bulk Collection Act of 2014. And supposedly this would end bulk collection of metadata, and that's very debatable because of how the law is written in a very vague way that no one can seem to really interpret. But it wouldn't do anything to stop the NSA in its present form, and it wouldn't force them to get warrants before conducting surveillance either. So basically it does nothing. As a matter of fact, some of the people who reviewed the bill thought it would actually increase the NSA's mandate and actually increase the scope of their operation. So never expect these federal crooks to do anything but cover their own butts and try to keep their own power intact no matter what. That's what they're usually going to do, like 9 times out of 10. But if we can raise awareness of our ideas, the public can run with them after the NSA is fully revealed. And we can keep people from being trapped into, these dead ends and these bad solutions. And, there's a lot of people out there, who want to, take all of our, collective energy and our money and just throw it into a dead end. And that's not what OffNow is. OffNow is something that can work. Anti-commandeering, nullification, these ideas can work and they can stop the feds. So, and we just need all the people on board with this idea rather than, some type of nonsense like a constitutional convention or something that's a dead end. So we have to be there, and we have to be out there on front, leading the people so that they don't fall victim to the political establishment and their army of cronies and con men and charlatans and bums and the rest of them. Next slide. And again, our political movement has legs. We've only been around for half a year, and we've already gotten our bill introduced all over, and we got national press coverage for it. And we appeal to people on the ACLU left and the Tea Party right and unite them on civil rights issues. So, and in addition to what I brought up earlier about CBS This Morning and NPR and the great coverage we got from them, we've also gotten favorable coverage from Mother Jones, which, if you're familiar with it, it's the most left-wing, progressive type group imaginable. That's where Michael Moore got his start. It's named after a union leader. So it's as leftist as it gets. We got favorable coverage from them. And then we got coverage from WorldNet Daily, which is on the other side, right-wing, lots of, doomsday type stuff on there. They gave us favorable coverage as well. So it seems like it's bizarre. Like, why would both these places give us favorable coverage? But because they don't have anything in common, but they do have one thing in common. They realize, how catastrophic this NSA thing could be to them and their freedom, and specifically their freedom to express their political agenda, which may not be popular. So the right loves our ideas because, we're fighting back against Obama harder than anyone. And the left supports us because our ideas of noncompliance are undeniably constitutional, been affirmed by the Supreme Court 4 times, it's legal in a very non-controversial way. Whereas if you push, full-blown nullification, it's going to make a lot of liberals angry because supposedly, the Civil War finished that, or whatever propaganda they're spewing about that. But on this issue, it is ironclad. It's very difficult for people to say that the idea of resisting in this manner is unconstitutional. And it's this legitimacy that we have that really gives the feds and the corrupt political establishment so many problems. And, we also produce new media content. Dennis posted a lot of our memes, a lot of our images that we distribute through Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and whatever other social media platforms there are out there. And that's increasingly important in the digital age. And that's what we're all about. So what we basically try to do is we try to use the web to reach people, and then we try to make it as easy as possible for them to get involved from there. And I actually have some examples on the next slide of some of our memes. At the one to the left, Bush is up there with Obama, and he says, "I told you they'd fall. We're only spying on foreign terrorists." And, of course, big smile on Obama's face. And the lesson is, what's going to be used on the terrorists or them or whoever the boogeyman is going to be used on everybody tomorrow. So it's kind of a colorful way to get the word out, and people really enjoy sharing these more than they enjoy sharing sophisticated economic analysis. It's easy for them to just kind of look at and get the picture, and it's fun, and they can share it. So I believe these memes are very important in terms of getting the word out. And the other one says, the Fourth Amendment doesn't include the words unless we need to. So that's kind of it goes along with the idea of the Constitution being dead. You can't just twist some words around and make it mean whatever you want it to mean. The Fourth Amendment is absolute, and the feds just can't do it whenever they say so. They can't deny it whenever they say so and come up with some ridiculous solution. They have to do it every time. And then this is the choice that we at OffNow give the NSA: follow the Constitution or get the hell out. And I think that's a fair. I think that's a fair ultimatum considering what they've done at this point. Next slide. And here's how to help. Taking down this website is very important. Offnow.org/Michigan. That's our Michigan OffNow Action Center, and it gives you the information on how you can support HB 5420. Basically gives you the information from all the people in the I believe it's the Judiciary Committee. That's where it's at right now. Those are the people who need to be called the most. But at the same time, call your state senator, call your state representative. A lot of other stuff you can do, like there's obviously sharing on social media or writing a letter to the editor. Again, it's not as difficult to influence legislators at the state level than it is legislators at the federal level. They're not being corrupted by Washington, D.C. So a few phone calls could really make all the difference. And yeah, I just want to close. Yeah, I just wanted to give credit to the organizers behind this coalition, and really just thank them for bringing me aboard on this great idea. And yeah, one is the 10th Amendment Center. I've been involved with them for 2 years now, and they're a great organization. They promote nullification as well as anyone, and the Bill of Rights Defense Committee at bordc.org. So, and Bill of Rights Defense Committee may sound like it's a Tea Party group, may sound like it's along those lines, but it's not, actually. It's more along the lines of the ACLU. And this is really what we're trying to do now is we're trying to basically send out the olive branch, and we're really trying to form a libertarian progressive coalition on issues like civil liberties, drug legalization, and the wars. And we're really uniting people around the idea of political decentralization. So we're trying to get people away from the idea that you need to grovel to the feds, you need to go to the feds and beg them, please, please follow the law. That's not worked. We've been trying that for a while. It's been a pathetic failure. And so we support decentralization. People at the BORDC, they're not like Obama. They're not the centralized government advocates. They want decentralization as well, and they want people demonstrating their rights. And we support nullification, noncompliance, anti-commandeering, civil disobedience, and really all forms of peaceful nonviolent resistance against the feds. Because if we don't say no right now, at this point, we're going to pay the price with our own blood later. Thank you.